to say, well, I just like the way this guy thinks. He's always different than what everybody else thinks. Oh, interesting. Never thought about, or very honest, transparent. I trust this guy. When he F's up, he says it. Ted Turner said something. And I think this is where a Bezos, if he reads the book, They Call Me Ted or something like that, the book, at the end of the chapter, end of the book, phenomenal. By the way, both of you guys would enjoy reading this. It's a phenomenal book to read. At the end of the book, he's interviewed by one of the current CNN anchors. And he talks about how disappointed he is in what happened to CNN. He says, I started CNN for news to be the star. He says, now the star is the anchor. No one cares about the news. Things changed, right? Now, part of it could be the Fair Doctrine Act of 1987, where Trump, I'm having him on the podcast, we're talking, he says, back in the days, whenever they're doing a story on me, somebody independently would call and verify, are these stories true about you? So think about this. You're writing for New York Times. He's an independent company. He calls me and says, hey, Patrick, this is what New York Times is writing. Can you verify these things? And I would be able to give my argument to it on the hit piece that you're writing on me, right? Okay. Ever since 1987, you don't need to do that anymore. The Fair Doctrine's that, because propaganda became a normal thing. You can say whatever you want. There is no accountability. Nobody can sue you. They used to be able to do that because they used to say a media company that was called the Thomas Mundt Act back in the days, where you have to give me both sides of the story. That's the Walter Cronkite days. He was a hardcore liberal. Nobody knew about it. He just gave you the news. The moment that's wiped out and the journalistic integrity and accountability is gone, everybody can keep writing opinions, Russia collusion, Elon Musk is this.
Why'd they get rid of that? What was the argument for getting rid of that?
Yeah, so, I mean, the argument was you should let people talk and you should let people present. And then keep in mind, I wasn't involved to know if lobbyists were involved. Because think, if you're sitting there saying, guys, we keep getting hit by these lawsuits, man. If we can sensationalize stories even more, we're going to get more eyeballs. More eyeballs equals more sponsorship money. How much did that lobbyist firm want to, if we hired them, how much money do we need to give to these guys? $2.8 million. If we do the $2.8 million and we turn that over, how much can that turn into? Oh, advertising would go 300%. Can we talk to accountant? Hey, CFO, can we afford that $2.8 million? Let me run numbers for you. Yes. Give that guy $2.8 million. Great. Doctrine Act is gone. No way. Yes. Oh, phenomenal, guys. Pump it up. More. And let me tell you what I believe is going on. A source, an anonymous source told me, what anonymous source? Everything was anonymous. An anonymous source told me that Graham Stephan is taking steroids and growth hormone, and he sold them the steroids. Anybody can say that nowadays. What do you mean an anonymous source said that? And now you have to go answer it.
Yeah, it's awful, because then if you address it, you have half the room is
you get credibility.
Then he addressed it, so there's got to be some truth to it. Why is he hiding it? And then if he doesn't, why isn't he addressing it? It must be true.
That's the sensationalism factor when you get rid of and you allow propaganda. Now anybody can say Jake Tapper's being questioned by J.D. Vance. Russia collusion. Whoa, an FBI. What are you talking about? You don't have, well, an FBI. Yeah, we did. We looked at it. No, you didn't. So Jake is like offensive, going back and forth with Jay. And I say, what are you talking about? You did this the entire time. Now you want to say an anonymous source that used to work with Trump back in the day said the following? Enough of these anonymous sources. So, and you're going back to independent content creators. What do independent content creators do? All we do is we question. Why did this happen? Hey, can you pull that up? Huh. Can you pull that up? Huh. What do you think happened? Is it this? Is it that? And then somebody's watching and saying, what is that white envelope they're talking about? And then let me create a Reddit to see what people think it is. Let me see 6,800, 990 comments later. Oh, there was a person that. These are 5 different things. I found out what it is. That's how this thing works. So that's scary to them, right? What you're doing, what we're doing, it's very scary for them. But long term, that's the direction we're going.
On the topic of independent content creators, why did you guys sign on Chris Cuomo to the show? I noticed that when you guys did that, I saw more hate in the comment section than I've ever seen before on Reddit, on Twitter, X. I saw all of these hate comments. What was the strategy behind that? And why have I not seen him on the show in the past few months?
I welcome all the hate. I'm not uncomfortable with that. Some of the people that called me and texted me and messaged me about how disappointed they were, the fact that we signed Chris. If I tell you the names, you wouldn't believe it, and I wouldn't tell you the names. This is not because I don't want to throw them under the bus. It's just a private conversation I have with these folks. But I understand why they would say it, because for the longest time, he made the people that didn't want to take the vaccine seem like they were the bad guys. He was part of that camp that he went through when he was at CNN. The whole ivermectin, everything. We had Dave Smith. We had this debate that took place. Now, for me, my comfort zone is controversy, chaos, and issues. Because if there's not a clash of ideas, you don't get to the truth. If I want to find out how mentally and emotionally tough my kids are, and I notice one of my kids is very good at talking shit to the other ones, and I watch to see how long it takes till that person gets rattled and gets emotional, and I'll say, that's all it took? Yeah. Seriously? Yeah. I said, let me ask you a question. What do you think we are as a family? You think we're a very quiet family without your father having strong opinions? You guys are kids right now. What do you think is going to happen when people start saying stuff to you about your dad? How are you going to handle it? What do you mean? Well, let me give you some stuff right now. So I start saying, what are you going to do if somebody says this? Well, that's not, well, what are you going to tell them if they say something like that to you? How are you going to handle this? What are you going to do if somebody says this about your brother? So we now started role-playing how to do press conferences, and I start poking them with comments to really piss them off. I said, you have that thin of a skin? You want to do something big, but you have that thin of a skin? I had Kevin McCarthy on the podcast a month ago, and I asked him a question. I said, let me ask you, here's a list of people that I think will run in 2028. What do you think? He didn't comment on it. But then afterwards, we walked away, and we talked about some of those names of people. The one thing that he said to me that I'll reveal, which was fantastic, he said the following. He says, you know that guy you said that could run for office? I said, yeah. He says, he won't run. I said, why not? He's not battle tested. I said, he's not what? He's not battle tested. What does that mean, he's not battle tested? He says, you have to realize, most of these guys cannot go run. When hit pieces come, the average guy cannot handle it. It doesn't matter if they're a billionaire. Did you watch the Lex Friedman interview with Trump? Mm-hmm. Did you guys watch it? Yeah. Do you remember that part where Lex asks him the question about other friends running for president and, who's it for and who's not for? He says, one, there's a lot of billionaires that don't know how to talk from stage. They just don't know how to communicate from stage. You have to know how to communicate, entertain, tell stories. Most of these guys are not good public speakers. Like Mike Bloomberg, he's not a guy that can get on stage and entertain an audience for a long time. But another part of it is, how do you do when they attack you? Guy calls me the other day and he does a story on me. And we had a very well-known guy from one of the biggest magazines that is going to be here with us on election night, hates what we stand for, not on the same page with me. Here's how the call ended. I said, let me manage expectations with you moving forward. He says, what's that? I said, you have my cell phone number. What I shared with you, if you say anything I just said in the article you're writing that I said, the way I said it, I'm always a phone call or a text away. I swear to God, if you in any way try to spin what I said to you in a way that makes me look bad or hurts my relationship with the person that you're writing the article about, you will never get a hold of me. And I'm going to be around for the next 40 years. So if you want to have a 40-year relationship with me that I'm a phone call or a text away, you best be fair and straight up with me. If you're not, this is not going to work out. You know what he said to me? Pat, I may not agree with everything you're doing, but I'd like to have that relationship with you long term. I said, great. Then guess what? Let me know when you write the article, sends it to me over. These are the things that you have to get used to, having these relationships with people and managing expectations. When Jordan first came in the game and everybody was doing interviews afterwards and they started talking shit about his family, Jordan made it very clear. Hey, my family is not something I want to talk about. You can ask me any questions about the game, not my family. If you talk about my family, I'm not giving interviews. You know what happened? Everybody realized, you want Michael interviews? You can't go after his family. They left him alone. And Michael had a personal life that he didn't walk on, water. He had certain issues. Nobody covered it. Because ask me anything you want about the game, but don't ask me about my personal life. That's the way you also manage that relationship based on whatever your level of acceptance is on a topic that you want to talk about. So the battle-tested part is going to be interesting to see who'll be able to handle it or not, but it's going to be very tough for a lot of people long term, especially those that want to maybe get to the next levels of running.
Yeah. Now, in terms of policy, do you think a zero income tax is actually possible?
So let's do the math. How much money do we need to run our government?
Depends on what you're funding, I guess.
Exactly. But right now, how much money do we need to run our government today?
With overspending, it's probably you could get it down to 5.